Going to be looking at the papers once again now on the programme. Alison's here. You're sitting down, though, Alison, aren't you? You get a chair. She's the regal person on the set. Going to start in Spain, aren't you? The reactions to the arrest of the former Catalan leader, Carles Puigdemont.
An arrest that sent hundreds into the streets of Barcelona last night. There are really two main images dominating the Catalan papers this morning. If you take a look at the front page of Ara, they have both of them. We can see that van transporting Carles Puigdemont to the facility where he's being held in Germany, and underneath the protests that erupted when his arrest was announced. Meanwhile, La Vanguardia writes that his arrest has once again raised the tension between Catalonia and Madrid. There's much indignation from Catalan papers as well. In an editorial, La Vanguardia calls the arrest a new and hard blow from the justice system against the separatists. They say it was no mistake that Puigdemont was arrested in Germany because, unlike Belgium, Germany does have laws on the books that will ultimately allow them to extradite Puigdemont. And La Vanguardia says that this really affirms that justice isn't the way to go about solving the crisis in Catalonia. They say there really needs to be dialogue, and for that to happen, well, Catalonia has to get its government in place.
Now, you found some of the papers a little bit closer to Madrid, kind of revelling in this, haven't you?
Right, on the front page of conservative paper ABC, they say that it is the end of Puigdemont's farce. They have no doubt here that Puigdemont will be delivered by German authorities back to Spain. Meanwhile, center-left El País is also using the word farce on their front page. One editorialist from the paper talks about the collapse of a myth. They say Puigdemont brought about his own downfall by being overconfident in his own daydreams.
And we saw some powerful dreams in the US over the weekend. Over 1 million Americans rallying to call for stricter gun control. This is a piece in Libération. You found a piece in The Guardian, though, haven't you?
That's right, Stuart. It's on the front page of The Guardian today, and I think, it's kind of a testament to the momentum that these protests have had. It was a couple days ago. They're still making the front pages around the world. In the middle there, we see Emma Gonzales, one of the powerful voices for change from that group of Parkland students. Her face is really everywhere. You can see her again in the Washington Post. And they take their headline for their editorial by the words from another student who said, "We are the change." The paper kind of echoes this idea that even if changes to laws don't actually come from the Republican Congress, well, the change in society is already here. It's a very hopeful sentiment that's coming from, largely from the fact that the kids are really the ones doing the schooling in this case. And you can see that pretty clearly in this cartoon from Pia Guerra. She's drawn several viral cartoons in the wake of the shooting. We can see Donald Trump there, who spent the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago golf course. And that little girl telling him to grow up is actually a little girl named Yolanda Renee King, who is the 9-year-old granddaughter, Stuart, of Martin Luther King. She spoke at the rally this weekend, standing where her grandfather gave his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech back on the March on Washington in the 1960s. So, a powerful image.
Yeah, that's the winds of social change, if you like, then blowing in the United States. There's also another storm gathering around the American president, one by the name, in fact, of Stormy Daniels.
Right. The porn star Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, gave her first televised interview this weekend, or rather it was broadcast this weekend, for the first televised interview since the news broke about her alleged affair with Donald Trump. Perhaps you could say the only good news for Trump is that the media attention around this interview has taken the focus off of the Russia investigation. As you can see in this cartoon from USA Today, we see this man who's watching the interview says, "Forget Mueller, the president needs to worry about Melania." Many papers, as in this cartoon, have been pointing out that Melania and Donald Trump were apart when the interview aired. She stayed out in Florida while he flew back up to Washington, and there's been some speculation that that kind of says something about the state of their relationship.
Yeah, Trump himself, he's remained silent on this so far, hasn't he?
He has, and it's a sign, according to the Daily Beast, that this case actually really has him worried. When other women accused the president of sexual aggression, he spoke out very quickly to deny these claims. That hasn't been the case, though, with Stormy Daniels or with the recent allegations that came from a Playboy model about another affair. The site says that the Stormy Daniels case has morphed from a late campaign nuisance into a large-scale presidential crisis, one that the Times thinks could leave the president totally exposed, as you can see in this cartoon.
And finally from Alison, a story about a man on a mission to expose that the world is not like that, but is like that. It's flat.
Right. This is a man from California who is convinced that the world is shaped like a Frisbee. And he went on a mission to prove it. This weekend, he launched himself into space in a rocket that he built by himself. He was actually supposed to launch this rocket back in November, and there was a lot of noise made at the time, and then skepticism that he had perhaps chickened out. Well, he did not. Over the weekend, he finally did it. He said afterwards he was relieved. He was also injured by the hard landing. The Washington Post says, it doesn't say whether or not he proved that the Earth is flat, but they did say he proved he could build a rocket, which which is no small
certainly
thing.
true. We got halfway there. Alison put the papers up for us, 24. After the break, we're going to be reporting on how pornography is impacting young people here in France and what messages do they retain about relationship between men and women. That's our special report coming up in the next half hour in Focus.